project we're going to tackle in the mobile condo is replacing this countertop. We are going to put in a butcher block countertop with an undermount sink to eliminate this self-rimming sink, and that will give us actually some more counter space when you take this self-rim. The sink will be the same size, but since it's undermount, you'll gain a little bit more counter space. So we're going to replace that with a butcher block. And also in the bathroom, the same thing, but we're going to do a vessel sink, an oval vessel, and it'll incorporate this area with a single hole faucet there. And we're going to extend the countertop in this area behind the toilet. So these are the before, and we will show you the process. Taking that, it'll be nice to have less pattern visually, in addition to something a little bit more durable. You can see this edge here is kind of delaminating and water gets in there. So it's not top quality, never was, but it survived for a few years, but it's time for an upgrade. So the first step was taking out all these drawers. Okay, so the thought is take the sink out, be able to reach in or get access to the fasteners for the countertop.
Wow, I didn't drop a drop in here.
Pretty good.
Fantastic. Okay, so that means I can take the sink.
Oh, look at that. The sink's...
These out of the way. I'm going to take them all the way off. Same over here. Seriously.
Oh, faucet's in the way.
So I discovered that these expensive LED bulbs are fantastic drop light bulbs. You can literally drop a drop light and they don't break like modern incandescent bulbs. You just can't get good drop light bulbs. So.
Okay, so the sink is out. You can see what's going on in there. So the faucet's coming out.
Yes, and when it goes back in, it's going to go that way. So it's obvious where hot and cold are.
Yeah, it wasn't installed properly. And we didn't fuss with it. It was installed properly, but it just wasn't turned the right orientation. So now it will be. And okay, so here's the faucet. He's taking off the weight for the pull down spray feature.
Uh-oh. I heard something go. Oh, that's the washer for the under the flange. Okay. Just don't want to lose these screws.
We are reusing the faucet because it's pretty good. We've had no problems with that. So we're just going to set that aside. We're replacing the faucet for the bathroom, but the kitchen one we're going to reuse. Okay, we're going to show you how to get the range top out. We already took the grill out. Not that I don't think you have to do that.
You don't have to do that, but it's not at all clear how this is attached in there. And the directions aren't very clear because it's showing you the front view, but you really lift it from the back.
Coming around to this side. Okay.
So I already pulled this up. This would be flush. There's some tabs here. You just got to get your fingers under here, lift that out, and then voila, the top is off.
So that's the top.
So,
it's not connected.
Just so you know,
it's not.
If you ever break this glass top, you got to buy the whole thing. They do not sell the glass separately, and they do not sell this separately. You got to buy the whole range top.
And we know that because we had a renter that broke it. So this is what it looks like, and looks like we should be vacuuming and cleaning under there more often.
Or we can use the brand new one that I still have in the
Well,
box.
we are going to use the brand new one, but that's how you get it out. It's not attached at all. It's just the under part that's attached. So removing this top, we had to turn off the propane outside. What did you do? Turn the tank?
Turn the tank off, the valve at the tank.
The valve at the tank. To the other side.
I'll lose that behind there. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And this we have to crimp. Unless I can undo it from the button.
I don't know. What are you trying to do there? What's that?
This is the for the igniter and the lights.
Okay. Oh, right, because that's wired into the. Okay.
That's just a through fitting. So I want to get the wires out of there. I'm gonna have to cut them and splice them. That's how they are.
And where will you cut it?
Probably right where they did, and do it that way again. Or right here.
Okay, so that's coming in from the power from the
this
coach.
Is 12 volt. 12 volt, which supplies power to the igniter, and then they all come to the. These are so the little tiny wires are the lights.
Okay.
Which is this. And then the bigger wires are the spark.
We thought about changing out the microwave for an oven because we personally would use more of an oven than the microwave. But we do rent this out, and I think people like the microwave. And since we had a renter that broke the top, we have a whole new cooktop that we had to buy. So we're just going to use that as the replacement. Okay, the cooktop is out. I'll clean that after we get the countertop off. It just slid out. We took off this back piece here, which really wasn't attached much. Got the wires out of the way. The propane line is out of the way. Now we'll continue to take the countertop off.
Attached over here.
We couldn't figure out how this was attached, but it was definitely screwed in from before this panel was on, but I just lifted it. And fortunately for their shoddy craftsmanship, which is no surprise, the screws are short. So he'll cut those after. We don't expect top-notch craftsmanship, but it works. It's held up for 3 years, so no complaints. So you can see the edge here. The main reason, besides it being ugly, to replace it is the manufacturer makes this countertop using a unfinished, a slab, and then they cut it to size, and it leaves an unfinished edge, and then they put this edge band on, which does not hold up to water getting in this gap. So over time, it just starts to come away and delaminate. So that's one of the main reasons, like I said, besides it just being ugly, to take this off. I mean, it's lasted for 3 seasons, and now it's time to replace it. So what I did here with this silicone edge is I just took this razor blade and went along the perimeter to break that line so that the wallpaper doesn't pull apart when we take the countertop off. Trying to minimize the destruction. We put up this. These are 2 tiles, 1 and 2. It was an ugly border thing there that we took off. And we're going to have to take that off and replace it because it's under the counter. But that'll be easy. Getting some pry bar things.
Screw I missed? There is.
One more screw. In a tough spot.
That's why it's tight.
It's almost loose. It's free on this end. We've got one more corner. Just trying to get unfastened. One last corner.
There's one more screw.
So you got the, whatever that thing's called with the bit in it. What is that thing called?
A ratchet.
Ratchet.
I can't see it.
It's a very tough
Or
spot.
feel it. It's countersunk in there a little bit. I would have found it then.
Okay, so we got the last screw out, we think. And
I think.
that corner is a little funky down there.
You're gonna pull this up and go that way.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to wiggle this so it doesn't break. That's.
So, is there another screw?
Ouch. Take that.
There was another screw, so it's not off. It's attached to the wall. So this is why you need every freaking tool for what you think is a small job, right? Okay, there's a screw. We thought we were done, but we weren't. Attached to the wall somewhere. So, another example of all the tools you need for a relatively simple, in quotes, project. And Whiskey has every tool.
Lucky me. Lucky Whiskey.
Yep. Okay, once we got the silicone off of that other end, that was it. It was screws at the wall, and that's it. I'm going to use this as a template to cut, well, not the sink opening, but the range top opening.
Right, so we're glad it didn't break. And it doesn't weigh anywhere near what I thought it would have.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's where we're at now. So just FYI, if anybody else has a situation, they screwed the countertop from this side and then put the finished panel on. So we really couldn't do that. So we just ended up pulling it off. And then these screws will get cut. And that's it. So there really isn't much holding this thing together, which we're not surprised by. But, you know, like we said, it's held up fine. Same process for the bathroom. Taking the sink out, cut the silicone edge, and you can see that same detail of that gap where all the water can get into. The bathroom faucet is going in the trash. That was some seriously low quality faucet with a fake finish on it. Never looked clean.
Wow, look at all that light. Okay. So.
All right, so I got to get the razor blade back out. So this is going to go away. See how many fasteners there are.
Which is bad.
So oddly, the bathroom counter is very tricky. They screwed it in from all weird places that you can't get to.
Okay. Yep, that one again. Both of them, maybe.
And we're going to have to just pry it apart from the screws that are in that face frame, which you cannot get to unscrew. Trying not to ruin the beautiful quality vanity cabinet.
I need to be out there on that rail. Or is that the style? That's the rail, right? That's the style.
Other way around. Style is vertical. Oh, there we go. Try not to destroy anything, just the countertop. Oh, that worked. It looks like it's loose.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's got two screws on either side. This one is bad news, though.
So they screwed it into the frame, and then they put a veneer panel over it so you can't get to it. So if you're looking to do this, be warned.
Here we go.
I'm trying to pry off that one piece of face frame from the counter. You don't want to make more work.
There we go.
Okay, nice.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay, now seriously, they had 2, 4, 7,
That's
8,
ridiculous.
9, 10, 11, 12 screws in that. No, 13, 14, 15.
That's
15
dumb.
screws.
For that little counter.
For that.
That's weird. This is just showing you the detail. So this is the slab particle board that has a laminate attached to it, or they might glue it at the factory. Then they put this edge bead on, and this part is never sealed, so that's just an opportunity for water to just collect in there. So just keep it in mind when you're looking at new RVs, this is some of the construction that you have to deal with. Okay, we got our countertop replacements. Curbside pickup at Home Depot. I love doing curbside. You tell them, Bulldog. All right, on to the next stop. All right, it's March 12th. Having a little snowstorm, but back to our countertop project. So we're in the barn. We're using the butcher block. And go ahead, Whiskey, tell us what you're doing.
So the first thing is I wanted to, we're dealing with a brand new thing that's way more rugged than what we had. So I wanted to know, was it supposed to be square? Because this end is not square. To make sure that, with a rounded edge, just use that to make sure that it's, the right size. The easiest thing to do is just use this as a template, cut it. But this side is not square. So I just went out there to say, okay, is that because, see, it's touching there.
Oh, like the wall.
I wanted to see if that's like that on purpose. And it is. The wall where the refrigerator is, it actually flares out. So I'm just gonna use this line.
Okay, so question also, we don't have to do a rounded corner.
Like that. I'm not doing rounded corners.
Oh, okay, because those are hideous.
And that's it. So that side, and then this side. And I don't need to make a line on the whole thing.
Okay. And this countertop is the solid butcher block, and the depth is 25 inches, and which Whiskey's going to trim it down, so it's actually 24, I think.
It's going to be, 24. So I'm going to, on the back side, cut an inch off the back. So that's what I want to start with for now. Actually, I might as well just.
That's the opening for the cooktop.
Opening for the cooktop. And this is another squiggly line, but I think that looks like an accident to me, so I will double check it, but I'm not going to mimic that little thing. And then the sink is a whole different situation, but at least mark where the hole is. And I believe the cutout for the new sink is going to be a little bit smaller than that.
So like we said, we're doing an undermount sink.
So 19 5/8, and that one's over 20. So yeah, that's good. So I marked this out. Now I'm going to need this again later, but for right now. Now a cut like this, people would think, oh, table saw. This thing weighs a ton. It's way too heavy and clumsy to run through a table saw. So,
And that's because you're cutting it down from 25 to 24. Okay.
So what everybody needs, instead of snapping a chalk line and doing this by hand, is one of these. I don't remember what it's called. and I don't remember where I got the idea. But you start out, this piece of wood can be anything. This one is important. It's dead straight and square on both sides. And this started out as a little bit bigger. Then you take your saw, the one that you use all day, every day, and you cut this. You just put it on that fence and you go zoop. It's made for both sides. One's 1.5 inches, the other one I think is 5 inches. About, and then for the rest of your life, as long as you have this saw, this is a straight line. You don't have to, you just put it right on whatever marks you make.
Oops, I just tripped over something in the barn.
And then you can, I usually clamp it, because why not? And it doesn't even have to go to all the way to the ends, because the fence is going to be on the board before the saw hits it. Now, as far, what I'm going to do first, I'm not exactly sure how old that is. I'm going to use a brand new saw blade. I am not a fan of those fine plywood cutting blades. It's more important to cut it fast than burn the wood, and I'm going to sand the edge anyway. So I'm using a framing blade, and I'm going to cut it.
Okay, got the clamps. He's got his extension cord set up. Oh, he's got to get his glasses.
Oh yeah, it's terrible. Oh, there's the line. Yeah, I can see it. So.
Oh, we're watching golf on TV because the greenery is very beautiful. They're playing in Florida, and it's snowing out here. So we're pretending that it's not winter.
I'm not sure if I remember to mention that this is the bottom of the countertop, so that if there are any tooling marks, everything. So that was upside down. This is upside down. Flip them both over. You got the top. Just easier to do it that way, especially since the back side of this has all this extra furring on it. The bottom side also is the knotty side. The top looks much better, which you'll see. I didn't change this blade yet, Julie.
It's very cold. So I am inside while Whiskey is changing that blade, warming my feet up. The barn is not heated. But here's our inside room that connects to the barn. Doggies are down there. Got some supplies. This is our mud room. So in an effort to have this end that Whiskey's cutting off not to fall on the floor, he got out some studs to hold up that end so it doesn't drop down. Anything else to add?
No, that's it. We're ready. Ready to rock and roll. Okay, that last little thing at the end I didn't want, because that's what, see, it was a perfect edge until we got right to that, where that happened. This is going to be up against the wall though, so. But I was trying to avoid that.
I don't understand what happened.
These 2x4s were perfectly flat,
Oh, I
so
see.
something was a little crooked, and
So it kind of wedged the saw blade?
So it broke that
Okay.
instead of cutting nice.
So beware. Nothing is perfect ever.
Yeah, it'll be fine. That's
Okay.
pretty perfect.
Okay, pretty perfect.
Just wanna show
Then we have this
some-
piece. This we
I
had.
just laid that on that line.
Okay.
And
And there it is.
there it is.
This was a 6-foot piece that we bought because I think we needed 56 inches. So we have this nice piece left over that we can make as a cutting board. Maybe it covers the sinkhole. Probably. That would be nice. That's where we're at. Here's the line. Covered in a little bit of dust.
Voila.
Nice.
That's what you want. You want a nice, where you can't see any saw blade marks.
Very nice.
If it's like that on that side, it's like that on the other side too. So that's a perfect cut. We're gonna cut the back side because the front, the factory finished one is nice already. So.
I keep tripping over. There's bags of gravel here, so I'm not going to edit it. That's just me tripping. Okay.
So I had the sink located a little bit farther forward because I wanted to make sure that the clamp for the faucet was going to fit sideways because it used to be the other way. And then, so I end up with all of these lines because once I moved it to where I thought it needed to be, I remembered that we have a cabinet that tilts out right underneath the sink. And I thought, I wonder how far back that is. So I took this, so it just so happens that this is exactly 24 inches. So I held the square to simulate where the counter was going to be, put that cabinet back in, and wouldn't you know, it was just going to hit the sink and stay open by a tiny bit. So I was able to move the sink back a little bit to where it's going to work. And then I checked it with this, so they send you this template, and it says, don't trust the template somewhere on here. So I measured it, I laid it out, I measured it again, then I cut this to make sure that everything agrees with what I'm going to do. And
because you only want to cut it once.
I want to cut it once. Now the tricky part is the radiused corners. There's two schools of thought. Well, there's three schools of thought. One is a jigsaw. Jigsaw, you'd have to be really, really handy and know your tool to attempt this with a jigsaw because it's 1.5 inches thick. It's hard, and jigsaws the blades tend to move this way or that way. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the same exact method. I'm going to put my jig on here. I can actually plunge cut it by taking, this is unplugged, so I'll start out like this, and then I'll just sink the blade right into there while the saw's on. And then getting back to what I've started with my train of thought is two schools of thought, meaning do I do that first? And then if I have any error, I can fix it with the radiused corners, or do it the other way around, do the holes first. I'm going to do the holes first. And the reason for that is you got to be very careful. Hole saw cutting is tricky when you want it to be perfectly plumb. It's got to go straight down. Like I said, like the jigsaw, it can't be on an angle. And the key to do that is to run this in reverse first to get it to actually score the wood and go exactly where you want it to go. So we'll come back to that. The hole saw, I just put it on, lined it up with the lines. I put tape on the outside edge of the lines to remind myself what side of the line I'm cutting. I'm cutting on the inside of the line. You know, you don't want to take the jig and go this way and then move it over here and go, oops, wrong side of the line.
So you're cutting here.
Cutting inside of the line. So I just lined this up, did a little hole, to get the center. And that one's perfect. That one's perfect. These are a ton. Wood has a grain, so you put the hole punch on there, and then it might go this way or that way, but
that's for your drill bit.
Finagle. So I'm going to do a pilot. That's not very deep in there. I mean, you got to be ready to go. So I'm going to do a little bit of a pilot hole first, without the hole saw bit on it. As I said, running in reverse first so it doesn't catch. See, so I was just kind of pulling towards myself to get that. And now it's much, much closer to right dead center. Now I'm going to go the right direction. I'm actually going to go all the way through. And I'll explain why in a second. Okay, going all the way through without the saw first, because it's much easier to get this to do a perfectly plumb hole both ways without the hole saw on it. And remember, this is the bottom. The top, I got to go about halfway through and then come back the other way. Otherwise you will blow. You don't want to take a hole saw and go all the way through the top surface. It will blow the grain out, and you'll have a miserable looking
finish on the other side.
Finish on the other side.
Okay, so you changed.
Yeah, I'm changing the
whatever that is, so that the actual drill bit is further
in the hole. Yeah.
Past the hole saw.
So I want that to be nicely in there. Now, unfortunately, that's a bigger hole, a bigger drill.
So reverse first.
Reverse first. I can check it, and that looks okay. So I'm a little close on this side. That's perfect. So I can just, still in reverse, give it a little.
So it's, you're trying to create like a pilot groove?
Yep, exactly, just to get it that way. And, okay, let's rock and roll. Occasionally you have to clean it off.
While he's doing that, let's check over here where the bulldog is still checking us out. She wants to know what's going on. Back to this.
Be aware of where I am. So about halfway into that hole, and I'll have to stop. Got a ways to go.
And then you are doing, we'll
do it from the other
bottom.
side.
The top.
So like I said, I can't reiterate enough. These have to, it's got to be a nice smooth edge on the inside. So you can't be like wiggling this sucker back and forth like you might if you're just drilling a hole through a piece of wood to get.
Right, you're creating a finished curve.
Creating a finished edge. And I don't really want it to be burned either, but there will be some sanding involved. Okay, I'll finish that one from the other side. So I went off camera and did the first one because I was nervous about it. I've done a lot of, and sometimes you get it where there's a little bit of a, I don't know, donut piece in between, but this came out really, 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 ouch! Really, really, really good. It broke a little bit of the grain, but that's fine. And
You don't only need this side to
exactly. It's
you only need that side.
Only going to see that little piece of it. So let's do the rest after I pull this chunk of splinter out of my hand.
So you flipped it over and did that one, and
Next, and I'll show you what I'm doing with this in a second.
doing reverse again.
Reverse again.
Okay.
And now I need to know that I'm pulling. So I'm good there. I'm good there. And I'm not going to move this. And now I'm going to rotate it to forwards carefully. Okay, I went back to reverse. I do not want to catch that grain and tear the top. I'm just applying light pressure. There I am.
Okay. Can't really see it in the camera, but it looks good.
Yeah, looks good.
Smooth. Great. Okay,
Yes.
and then you do all four, and then start with the saw.
Yeah. So now we're going to basically connect the dots. I set up the jig. I just took my fingers, and that's
Louder.
what I want to achieve. I want that line to meet the holes. I taped off, so I'm sure, because I drew all over this thing, I want to make sure that I'm cutting on the inside of the correct line. And I'm going to put the saw, which works, on the jig. And I've got the lock off, and I'm going to plunge cut it just like this. Back up a touch. So, here we go. Now this is a circular saw, so it's not going to go all the way through on the bottom, and I'm going to have to finish these all off by hand. But when that's done,
you're
that
flipping
should
it
be
over?
a perfect line. No, not until I cut all of these like this.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I can do the rest of that, and then you can
I'll
turn
come back.
later. So I repeated that 3 more times on the bottom side. This is the top, and now I've flipped it over, and you can see the circular saw, because it's a circle, doesn't get all the way to the top of the hole the other way. Now, I could take the circular saw and go right in these kerfs and try to follow through, but that would still probably leave a tiny little bit, and I think that's more work than it's worth, because we have to finish it off by hand anyway. So
Gotta talk louder.
we have to finish it off by hand, and that's what I'm going to do here.
Yeah, there we go.
And now that one's through.
Because it's really not that much, huh?
No, there's not a lot of... Now, wait, I want to decide because I need this to hang on till the bitter end. So I will do... Yeah, okay. And I'm through. And this is another one of those things I was talking about. I've used this saw a million times, so I know it. And if you're going to, use a tool that you're very familiar with when you're almost working with finished furniture here.
Okay,
last one.
Last one. Okay, unveiling. Nice. Okay.
Okay. So, got, it's not, well, this one's really, really good. But I'm going to be sanding the inside of this.
Yeah.
And I already knew that if I had to, if I screwed anything up, I can take a router bit with a ball bearing on the bottom and just go around when the sink's in there, and it'd be perfect cut. But it's
yeah, it feels nice.
Square.
Right, so the sink goes in there, the faucet goes here. Okay, and then the cutout for the cooktop.
Nice, really. So I started cutting out the range top opening, and I just did it the same way on the back, plunge cut, on the side, plunge cut. I'm going to do this one here, then we will flip it over. I'll finish the corners by hand, and we'll be getting towards the home stretch before finishing, as in putting a finish on it.
Okay, so just flipped it over and you can see what it looks like on the top side, and you're going to have some fuzzy things, but you're going to
I was going to see that because that's underneath.
And it's under the flange, but you can also hand sand and smooth it up. So I'm going to hand saw this now to take out those corners. And then put the cooktop in. We're still watching golf. It's very green out there. I like this.
I keep these close before I...
Last one.
Free. Hang on by thread. There it goes.
There we go. Another cutting board.
Another cutting board. That's 3 cutting boards.
We're going to be in the cutting board business now. Okay, so the bathroom vanity wood is cut. Did an oval. This was, obviously we had a drop-in sink, and we're doing the vessel style, which will silicone around the bottom here. Single faucets coming here, and we made this shelf here that goes in the toilet's right here.
Let me grab my tape measure.
Okay.
Because I need that every time.
I have a tape measure in my pocket.
Okay. Don't drop it. Put it on. I haven't cut those screws out yet.
Oh, right.
I gotta go get a tool for that.
Darn it.
So here we are back at the garage. You saw me apply the first coat of what was a clear penetrating epoxy sealer on the kitchen counter, which you see right now is upside down. I've got the bathroom counter cut, and I'm ready to give that a coat of this product as well, which I'm showing you my workshop that doesn't even have a flat surface that I can do this. I got to do it on the sawhorses, and that's the reason why. By the time I'm done working on our 1929 26-foot Chris Craft, which always needs something every year, I'm pulling that thing out of the garage late spring, throwing everything over my shoulder onto this table, and I don't come back until I'm ready to do it all over again, and that hasn't happened yet. So what we have here on the sawhorse is Smith's Clear Penetrating Epoxy Sealer. That is a two-part product that is absolutely fantastic. It makes wood impervious to water. It'll restore rotted wood. It'll force water out of wood. It's also got a secret that's not even on the label, that if you use this to treat pressure-treated lumber, you can paint it. So I've already got one coat on the kitchen, and I'm going to do another coat on that, and then do one coat on the bathroom, and that will be sufficient. This product raises the grain a little bit, so you have to sand before you put varnish on. I do them upside down first, so I can do the inside and outside edges, and then you'll get drips around the rim. I flip it over, do the top, and just roll those drips right in, and you have no drips when you're done. There's no reason to brush this product out. Just put it on with a roller. It soaks in like a sponge. So today's a beautiful warm day. I got the garage door open. These have both been, this is this kitchen and the bathroom. The kitchen has 2 coats of clear penetrating epoxy sealer, and the bathroom has 1, and that's plenty. Now we're going to varnish. I've already sanded these, vacuumed them, including the sawhorses and all the surfaces, and put a coat of varnish on. So here these are finished. I just wanted to do a quick video. I am a huge fan of Epiphanes varnish. I've got a lot of experience with varnish, and this stuff is really good. What I did was applied, after I did the penetrating epoxy sealer, I gave them a quick sanding, applied a coat of Rapid Clear. This is a semi-gloss boat marine exterior grade product that you don't have to sand between coats. I did anyway. I gave it a light sanding, and then I applied the Epiphanes Rub Defect varnish, which is for interior use and is, like it says, it's Rub Defect, which is way less glossy than semi-gloss, and it went on absolutely. I don't remember having a problem with the product. It was really thick and extremely hard to brush out, but it flowed out overnight really well. I turned the heat up in the garage, and I thought I was going to have to sand it completely off today, but I'm not touching a thing. I'm taking this as a gift, and we're going to install these.
Okay, so now he is working on getting the sink clamp down to the counter.
mount
Okay,
faucet.
we have a mock-up here in the barn still. Still working in the barn. The sink is attached. Caulk was put right here on this underside. And like we said, we did I'm painting. That's why I got paint on my hands. This overhangs a little bit. The faucet is on. The range goes there. It's looking really awesome. Here we are in the other part of the barn. Whiskey has the sink is in. It's caulked at the bottom. The faucet is in. So he's going to carry this up to the motorhome and secure it to the cabinet. The bulldog came to check it out.
She's like, I can eat all those pieces of wood.
So the bathroom counter is on. The plumbing isn't hooked up, but there it is. It's not attached yet. It's just sitting there. That is fantastic. Huge improvement over the way that other sink was. Wow. And then this is ready for, well, that's not installed yet. It's just sitting there. We have to hook up the drain. We have to fuss with the drain a little bit. This was added to take up the space of the new counter height. So I'm going to paint that black, but that looks really fantastic. What's happening here is Whiskey has the counter out because he has to coordinate the sink drain because it has to change slightly. So he has to make an adjustment to the drain location because the sink is sitting lower since it's an undermount instead of a self-rimming, which was on top of the counter, and the counter is thicker. So he is going to coordinate that, but he brought the sawhorses into the condo, and he's going to figure out what he needs to do. Dry fitting the drain to get the height right, and just wanted to show you that the place is a little crowded in here. It's small space, but at least with the slide out, you have a little bit of room to bring some sawhorses in.
This is a thread compound stick, which for tiny little fine threads like this is way easier to use than plumber's putty.
So it just fills
it just fills the. It's kind of a harder compound. It's the same compound as plumber's putty, but it's a little different because you can really squeeze it in the threads like that. And this. Backwards first. There. I flipped it, click.
Nobody can hear you. You turned it backwards first.
Backwards first until you hear the click so you don't cross thread it. And then right in there nice and tight. And that should be fine. Should be fine. You never know until you run water through it.
So even though it seems like it's a relatively small project, it really isn't, and requires a whole bunch of tools and space. So just showing you what that looks like. It's helpful to have every tool, which Whiskey does. Sometimes to his chagrin, that means he has to fix stuff.
Pretty big.
The kitchen counter is in place. The sink, or the drain, and the faucet are hooked up underneath. And Whiskey did adhere this to the cabinets using adhesive. So we're going to show you doing the process in the bathroom. So go ahead, describe that.
It's like PL200, which is sort of like a liquid nails product. But this stuff, Power Grab, the PL200 is like $2 a tube. This is about $6. And it's got 0 seconds. It's instant grab, which is why I have dry fitted these a bunch of times, because you literally, once it's in there, you have 0 seconds to mess with it.
Okay, so
and it's stock. It's really stock, so it's not going anywhere. So in here, I've got this just precariously positioned here because I know exactly how I have to get it in here to get the water lines to go in there without dragging through this. And then I'm going to position it. Boom, it'll be locked in.
Okay.
So, are we ready to rock and roll?
Yes.
This is probably not perfect. Okay.
And that's all the new boards he put on the wall to
Start this just to make sure. Okay,
to secure.
It's gonna come out. So here we go.
Okay. And if you have any concerns, you should just open a new tube because you don't want to run out in between tubes when you have 0 seconds. You just and as he said, he's dry fitted this several times to make sure it fits. The drain is ready to go. It's ready to go. And you gotta, that stuff always keeps coming out of the tube. Okay, so he's got the sink and the faucet are already attached to the counter.
So
tight quarters.
Here. That is gonna go right like that.
Okay.
And I've got to grab it by the outside edges. Get it in there. Get it in there. Get it in there. Drop it down.
Drop it like it's hot.
Just shoving it in the corner. I'm not really pushing down. I found this stuff kind of
You don't want it to squeeze
pulls
all
it.
out.
Yeah, I don't want to squeeze it out in the front either. Perfect. You can't see any of it.
And we will silicone at the back edge at the wall here and the kitchen.
Okay, so I took the top off of the range, which we did a video on when we took it apart. Now that I've done it a bunch of times, I'm an expert on that. I dry fitted this. I located the holes because it does get screwed into the countertop on the sides, and I already pre-drilled those. So now we're going to hook. I made sure that the gas line was going to work. I reinstalled that little panel in the back, which is just a closeout, so you can't peek through there and see anything, I suppose. And first, while I have the room, I'll make these electrical connections. These are the 12-volt circuit to the igniter. The lights, this has lights on it, and the igniter, which works just like your grill. Oops. There we go. And that one. Yeah, I could have done this the easier way. But why bother do that? Now I can test that. I turn the light on. Okay. So that's active. Don't need that. Now I want to get the gas, slide it in a little bit. Those wires are just going to hang out back there. They'll be fine. Get the gas line connected. This is the same line that came off, so it's a gas compression fitting inside there. Just want to go. That should be good. Before we turn it on, I'll spray it with some leak detector spray, which is basically like industrial bubbles. If anything leaks out, it shows you. And then I'm going to screw this in. The range is positioned right where it's going to go.
Okay.
So I turned the gas on, and I'm going to spray. This is just stuff you can get at the hardware store. Spray it on that union. And if there was anything leaking, it would bubble. Now I want to make, I'm not sure how long it's going to take gas to get in this line. It could go quick. Or not. There it is.
Oh, there it goes. Excellent.
There we have gas. Okay, so now that I know there's gas there, and I'm using the burner that's farthest away from here, I'm going to do that again. And there's nothing. That is a good, solid connection. So now we should be able to turn the rest of them on.
Oh yeah, nice.
Here we go. Flame.
Ready to.
Three.
Wine's ready to cook stuff now.
Turn them off. Put the top on. Off, 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 off. And then, you ready?
Yep.
So this is just the opposite of how we did it when we took it apart. There's two tabs on the very front that have to lock in underneath the front panel. There they are. It gets pushed forward, and then bam, that's it.
That's nice.
So that is the way it
Is
works.
ready to go.
Ready to go.
So the last thing to do here is silicone at the wall, at the perimeter back there. I've got my gloves on, I'm doing yard work. And then we put on the side panels that are peel and stick. Those will go there after the silicone is in, and then the kitchen is done. Here's the finished project. We did a Kraus sink, and it comes with a rack. We went with the Kraus because it is a little bit heavier gauge, so it's a little more durable, and the rack just keeps the bottom of the sink from getting scratched. We've had good luck with those. We've used those on other projects. I use a cutting board on top of one of these roll-up racks so that I have a little bit more counter space, and that pretty much stays in place even when we're going down the road. So as you can see, nice improvement to the overall look and also the functionality by eliminating that self-rimming edge. You get a little bit more counter space and more level. So if I put a cutting board across here, it will be more level without that self-rimming edge, making an uneven surface. These are peel and stick tiles from Lowe's. They're about $12 each, and they stay on pretty well. We had them on before. I had to use the blow dryer to heat them up to get them off. And we got new ones, put them back on. And then the bathroom. So having the shelf has made, for a nice improvement. This is something that just is stuck to the wall. It does come off, and you can put it back on, and that helps too. The tissue box stays in place. So this, you get a bigger sink, and it didn't take away from the countertop space since it's the vessel style, and as you know, it's down into the opening so that it's not as high off of the counter. So huge improvement. It's nice to have a bigger sink, a more attractive countertop with that shelf. And that's the finished project. And then just an overall, we have the Freedom Elite 24 FE, where we've taken out the cushion from up here and made this box with some bins in it, because we just travel with 2 people and a dog. And the table, we took out, that was the first thing we did. We took out that plastic laminate table. I bought a table on Craigslist, painted it. Actually took the table top off and then fixed it so that it no longer goes up or down. And then that's the dinette area, the bed, and our cozy little mobile condo.